So
Yeah,
you've
that's really
actually
good.
been to North Korea.
Yeah.
What's it like there? Because it's hard for those of us who haven't actually been there to parse what is reality in terms of the situation there
Yeah.
versus what are competing levels of propaganda coming from the North Korean government and all of the
hmm
governments that are opposed to the North Korean government. So, what's it actually like?
Um, yeah, it's interesting. Like they, if when you're there, you can see if it's fake or not, or you can see you can see beyond the mask, if you know what I mean. For example, we have an itinerary to stick to. So, we go to this museum, we go to this restaurant, we go to this. After that, we're going on the bus ride to another monument or something like that. So you're sticking to this, schedule.
Is the schedule and itinerary set by the North Korean government, or is it set by the travel
Uh,
agency that you went through?
it's both. Yeah. So is it okay if we go to here and then the North Koreans go back? Goes, yes, it is. So, um, but with that itinerary, there's also some, what do you call it, spontaneous stuff I can do. Like, for example, we went to the mausoleum where Kim Jong Il and Kim Il Sung were embalmed.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually go into the temple and you can actually see their bodies, and you have to bow. If you do visit, you have to bow because there's guards looking at you and stuff like that. So
What would
um,
happen? Would you be arrested on the spot if you didn't
you'd be in
bow?
big trouble. Yeah, yeah,
How
yeah.
big trouble? Like,
Like taken away, kind of big trouble.
my goodness.
Yeah. So
Is was that scary knowing that if you didn't bow or didn't bow to their satisfaction that you might be taken
yeah,
away?
like of course, yeah, you knew
Yeah.
what you're getting yourself into because we had to go to Beijing. So I went to Beijing from Vancouver, and then we stayed there for a couple of nights. I met the other people on the tour, so there's like 9 of us, including the tour manager, because the tour choreo group is based in Beijing. So you fly from Beijing to Pyongyang the next night. But we had to actually have to have a be present at a meeting with the tour company to do's and don'ts. Like they sent us like a big, huge list, and it took like an hour-long meeting of like, don't do this, don't bring this. A lot of rules on that. You say the
Hmm.
NASCAR rules about big list. This was quite
Right.
similar.
A
Um,
little bit more complex than the
yeah,
safety meeting that you put you through at your go-kart track.
for sure, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No
yeah.
bumping, guys. Now
Yes,
remember, we know that they've got these big bumpers, but no
yeah,
bumping.
yeah. There is injury and potential death if you don't,
Right.
do this kind of stuff. But so yeah, so we knew what you get yourself into, and then once
Okay.
you're at the place, yeah, I mean, that mausoleum was like there's no cameras obviously, which you have to leave them at the desk before going in, and there's like you go into the room and it's like a 30-foot room, like really dimmed, red lights on, and then you can see the casket lit up of Kim Jong Il, and Kim Il Sung was in the other
Now,
room.
is it the casket that you see, or
Oh, the
the
bodies.
entombed bodies are actually exposed there? Like,
Yeah,
does it look like a wax museum kind of deal?
yeah. It's like, well, they look waxed because
Right, because of the embalming.
one's
Yeah.
dead 8 years, the other's dead like 25 years. So, but they were like in obviously pristine condition with their, the Kim Jong Il suit, the gray suit, like the
Hmm.
Soviet style suit. He's still wearing that,
Right.
in the casket, but it's all glass. So the rule is that yeah, you have to go over, and then you're in a line of four or
Hmm.
three, four. So like three, three, and three, and then the first ones go up, and then you bow, and then you take your time, and then you go back up again, and then you bow at their feet and at side to side. But once you go around to the head, do not bow to the head. That's a big major no.
Why not bow to the
Um,
head?
it's just disrespectful for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did
So
they explain why it's just why bowing at the feet and at the side is respectful? Is it that if you bow at the head, you're placing yourself above them then?
that's probably a good guess of mine, John. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that
it
sounds right.
sound it was explained that it was disrespectful, but they didn't go into detail as to specifically why.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then-
But yeah, that sounds fair enough. I mean, it does like you're bound, and he's below you almost in that way.
Right.
But so we went to the left hand side of the body, and then we walked around to the top of the head, and I just like walked past, and I almost stopped and bowed. I'm like, fuck, I just didn't know where it was for a second, and then went to the next side, and I was just sweating over that.
Yeah, I bet, because you know what? If you screw up, you're
Yeah,
done.
that was mad.
Jeez.
And then it's a huge temple, and then it's where the two golden statues are. So you see them, they're like 100 foot tall, and you see them, and that's outside in the park area. But inside the building is where the bodies are. But they also have like other rooms where they have like medals from different countries. So like a Order of Merit medal,
Right.
and like different presence of African countries, and there's like different countries where like plaques and stuff like that. So it's like a war room almost of their own memorabilia, which is interesting. So that was a Sunday. So that happened one day, and then it was a very intense day. You get on the coach. You're from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. back to the hotel again. You're constantly on the road looking at things, and one of the guys like, "Oh, I really love a coffee right now because it's obviously so draining right now, but obviously it's not on the itinerary." So the tour manager, we talked to the guides who were really nice, like very nice guides.
Are the guides North Korean nationals
Yeah,
or citizens, or
yeah.
are there any folks who work full time as guides that are like from another country, or they're
No,
all North Korean? Okay.
it'd be all specifically North Korean. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry, continue.
Yeah, so that's that'll be the best income to get because they not a lot of
So
jobs
that's
are
a
really
really
not created.
prestigious job then.
Definitely is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you get any insight into how one comes into the tour guide job? Is it?
Yeah, there's like we're very open with them on the bus, chatting to them because you're constantly with each other I was there for five nights, so you're
Mm-hmm.
constantly in contact with them for over 12 hours, 14 hours a day, 5 days a week. So we talked everything about relationships in North Korea and marriage, like sex before marriage. Talked about foreign relationships, if there was like a Caucasian person marrying a North Korean, that kind of stuff. There was a lot of talk with that, and they were very open
Are there any
with that kind of stuff.
are there any people who have journeyed over from North Korea who've decided to stay there as foreign nationals who have decided to emigrate to North Korea?
Yeah, there was a famous one, American on the DMZ border who crossed over. It was a documentary made of him, I think. But so he was like a famous, I can't remember what his name was, but he stayed in North Korea for like 50 years and married a North Korean woman, and he was American.
Okay.
But not a lot of people do go over because there's a lot of hoops to get through. Like the company that I went with, they get the North Korean visa for myself, and it's like an all expenses paid thing. Like you give them money, and then they'll sort everything out, like the hotel, the food, everything else, travel. So yeah, it's a lot of work to get in, and
right.
Even like arriving to the airport, like I've got like 3 customs forms to fill out and hand over to the guards, and like that's the most nerve-wracking thing is like there's like 7 guards like all around you and stuff like that. They're looking through your stuff. They're like asking it in broken English, camera and different things like, and but after that, then it's okay.
Did you get much of a sense for how the people who didn't have the prestigious position of being a tour guide lived day to day? Whether life was as bleak as it's portrayed as here in the Western culture, or as glamorous as the North Koreans would do, where they seem to want the rest of the world to believe that no, all that stuff you hear about how bad it is all propaganda and everything's fine.
Yeah.
Wherein lies the truth in your estimation, having actually been there?
There's some truth in saying where North Korean government want to portray their citizens as, everyone has a great job and stuff like that. But when you're traveling on the coach on a rickety road, going towards from Pyongyang to the DMZ line, which is like 3-hour drive, and you get to see the barren land out your window, and the broken roads that's making your bus, go up and down, and
So when you say rickety road,
turbocharging.
are all of the roads rickety, or are there well paved roads and only that the one that leads to the DMZ, or are they all pretty bad?
They're all pretty bad, but in
Hmm.
Pyongyang they're decent. But
Okay.
once you go outside in the countryside, it's and the bus is like an 80, 1980s bus. So the suspension, this you want travel on NASCAR cars, you jump on one of these. Yeah,
They got some suspension travel on the buses there. Then
yeah,
maybe
it's
there's
crazy.
there we go. That's what we need. We
Yeah.
need that's the suspension that we need for NASCAR.
But yeah, so you get to see people, in the farmland, almost to their waist in mud, and then they've got no crops growing.
Hmm.
There's like when the driver keeps on beeping his horn through the road because there's like a group of 20 people working on on a wall, and they're like cementing the wall, but that's it. Like it's no. You go back to your apartment and then back to work again, which is like building a wall or something remedial.
Hmm.
So, but then you've got, we went to like a co-op farm, so this is where they grow like rice and vegetables and stuff like that. And not everything is going to be like this. Like they're showing us, oh yes, look, we can grow lettuce and stuff like that, but we could just take one look outside the window, and it's there's a lot of land around us that's not growing and doesn't seem to be growing. So,
Did anyone on the
um,
bus try to engage in the conversation of pointing that out, or was it? Well, I guess did anyone even bother trying to raise or question what sounds like obvious propaganda when you can see with your
yeah,
own eyes that things are not as they're saying as they are?
yeah. One guy who's like a very multinational group. One of the guys is actually American. He's actually from Seattle, but went on a Dutch passport because obviously Americans are banned now after um, Otto Warmbier
Right.
died when he what happened, the incident at the hotel. So they banned, so Trump's banned any Americans going, but he had a Dutch passport, so he was able to travel, even though he's American. So he was kind of more investigative in that way, and he was asking a lot more intrusive questions.
Hmm.
And there was one time where we went up to a monument, and we went to a on the hillside where a little park there. So we just rested for like 5 minutes, have a look around, and then below us was like practically slums, like favelas almost.
Hmm.
And the road that we took was like, I mean, pristine. Like they've been scrubbing away a toothbrush, how clean it was.
Hmm.
So the guy was like, "Oh, can we not go to the bus, travel through this way?" And the guide was like, "No, So like, I don't see why not, because like you go through these houses, but of course, he's telling me that, oh, how could they say no? I'm like, of course they're gonna say no. They don't want you seeing people,
Right.
scrabbling for food or something like that.
They've got a
So
clear plan on
yeah,
and even though that it's obvious that they're letting you see some stuff that in comparison to where you're coming from doesn't look good, it's still tightly controlled what they're letting you see and what they're not letting you
exactly.
see. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. Um,
Um,
and then with the itinerary, like it was based around a soccer game. So North Korea were playing Hong Kong in the Asian Cup, and we were mixing in with locals. Like we were all the time. Like in my photographs I have on Facebook, I took a lot of photographs, and it doesn't seem like there's many people there, but I purposely took photographs with monuments because I don't want anyone else in the photograph, if you know what I mean. So
are
there's
there is that are there restrictions? So like if one of the people there appears in a photo in your photograph, that could potentially get them into trouble, right?
only if you're not allowed to take any military photographs. You cannot take
You can't take
um,
photographs of the military.
right,
Can you take
and
photographs of do they have a difference between military and police, or are the military also the police?
military also police.
Okay, so there is no like local police department or anything like that. It's just
No, it'd be military.
military does all forms of law enforcement.
Yeah, and so the photographs, yeah. So military one, and they'll be checking your phone and checking all your photographs once you leave
Hmm.
Pyongyang. Like leave on the airport, come back to Beijing. They'll have a look at your photographs. And another rule is those two golden statues. you have to have a photograph that has their whole statue in it, so you can't have it like cut off. So
Are
they
you
want to
required
portray
are you required to take a photograph of them, or if you take a photograph of them you
if you take.
have you so what happens if you accidentally get one that's not framed properly but you then retake it? Do they just make you delete the one that was framed improperly?
Yeah, like if
Okay.
they look at it, if the guy was sitting beside me and then saw me taking a photograph and then she's like, "Oh, can you just take that again?" If it was like, I'm like, "Yeah, sure." But there's no like, it wasn't. They had me by the head with a gun. And it's like, make sure you delete that photograph, So,
Right. Well,
but they
I'm
want
guessing if you
first.
don't delete it, it becomes more interesting.
Yeah, make me.
Right.
um, they like the whole reason for like the trip and then the way they're being nice, but they are nice people, is that they want tourists to go and see their land and see it for themselves. And the only way you can do that is by portraying the country to be nice, and and they know that I'll be showing these photographs to you and to my family members and friends, and then they'll be like, "Oh yeah, that looks good." Like, "Oh, I might go myself." That's so they want to see every single photograph to make sure that it looks in a good light to not create.
But
Um,
they have to at some level understand what the perception, especially the people who are in the tour guide job who interact with people from other countries on a regular basis.
yeah.
They have to understand what the perception of North Korea is from people who live in countries that are not governed by I'm just by such oppressively authoritarian regimes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
Um,
I found that like when I think they're hiding the real facts. Like they're asking us, what do you think of North Korea, or what do you think of Trump? There was a general at the DMZ who asked one of the guys in the tour group, like, what do you think of our leader? So Kim Jong
mhm.
Un. And then also, do you think USA and North Korea can get along? And this is before the first meeting last year between Trump and Kim.
Were
Um,
they concerned about, like, what was your estimation on what they wanted to happen? Do they hold animosity towards America or Americans in general, or was it your estimation that the people would prefer to have a good and healthy relationship with America and the rest of the world?
um, uh, I think the the meeting was planned, so it might have changed their evaluation, saying like, okay, if Kim is going to meet Trump, then we have to change our own minds over being American. So they might have changed their opinion when we
Hmm.
got there. But in their propaganda, like everywhere you go, it's death to America, death to USA. Now,
Now
when
that's
after,
the propaganda coming from the government.
yeah,
Did you feel like the people that you interacted with, did they buy into that and have a genuine hatred of the United States of America as a result of the propaganda, or do you feel like that they were able to recognize propaganda for what it is?
I think the guides recognized what propaganda was and what they're
Hmm.
doing. If they're constantly going in groups of of tourists, and um, you know like you can get the internet in North Korea as well. Like there's this, you can get the you get a SIM card for your phone at the airport.
Hmm.
And our tour manager had it so he can keep in contact with people from his work. But he checked the F1 result for me when I was in the bus in North Korea, So they have
Yeah.
their information, and okay, some of it may be blocked out, but the guides are in a
The
special
the
piece
guides
where,
have access.
yeah,
Does the general populace have access? Like,
no,
could I get
they
on
only
social
have,
media and follow someone in North Korea on Twitter
no,
right now and talk with them that way?
I mean, like a normal North Korean wouldn't have it. The only access they have would be in a library, and the computer is set up in a way where it's only local, the intranet kind of
Hmm.
way,
Right. Yeah.
So it's only like find information of science and stuff like that on there, but you won't be able to go on Google or stuff like that.
Hmm.
But the girl, like the two girls, had like the phones out, they're playing games, and then like you can search the internet. Um, it was that's a bit of an eye opener there. So yeah, this DMZ zone. Do you want to see some propaganda? Because I brought some back. I was allowed to buy some.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
That'd be
I've
cool.
got two. Yeah, I've got two massive frames, so I'll show them now.
This has gone in a. This is what's cool about this is definitely different. Okay, so
So here's one.
I gotta say
Okay.
this is really cool and unexpected direction that this conversation has gone in.
So this one was there was like a artist at the DMZ,
Mm-hmm.
um, and he had a lot of these paintings for sale. So this was like €30, which is
Mm-hmm.
about $50, I think. Um, and yeah, so it was this one, and then obviously a lot more. Let's say towards Americans. So this is more like propaganda, like the World Cup for North Korea, winning this stuff. I mean, it's really propaganda towards the sports. But my
Right.
next one here might
Because
be a bit of a shock.
is
Might be a
that
bit.
is that is that piece of propaganda telling that like is the intent of that to tell the people of North Korea that North Korea actually won the World Cup?
Um, in general, no. Like I think it's more like we're successful at sports, but not. They just put the World Cup for tourists. But oh, look, they might be saying that they won the World Cup, but they know that they didn't.
Okay.
This next one might be a bit shocking towards you, John, and every other American, but this is what getting in trouble is all about. So,
That's
uh,
a is that a U.S. commando there?
yeah, the US on the ground. So
Oh, the U.S. guy's on the ground in the North Korea. So that's a North Korean soldier putting his boot to a U.S. soldier.
that's correct. Yeah,
Goodness me. Yeah.
and got the US on the helmet.
Right. Oh yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
so yeah,
That's textbook propaganda right there.
yeah. So after this meeting with Trump, Kim discontinued all those paintings that have hate towards America.
Mm.
So in generosity towards obviously having this on good faith with Trump. So you cannot buy those posters anymore.
So you were able to get those because it was before the most recent meeting happened, but after the most
Yeah,
recent reading, they have lessened the propaganda in the interest of having productive talks.
yeah. It's more like on the streets. It was more like workers, in a proud stance, and it's for technology and science, and rather than standing on American soldiers' heads. So they've changed it a lot. But during my time, like after 5 days, I had it's like a mental strain almost
Mm-hmm.
because the guides are telling you about this monument, and it does take a toll. So if anyone is going, like I think 5 days is plenty. The tour manager says they have a trip that goes on for 3 weeks, and there was actually fights between people in the tour because it was so you're really sure for so long, and there's a lot of information. You don't have your internet on your own phone if you don't have that SIM card because it costs a lot of money to buy a SIM card. So
Yeah.
you don't your phone's useless only for taking photographs in, so you have to interact with each other. So if you don't get along with people on your tour group, 28 days is a
That's
lot.
a
So
long time.
5 days,
That's a
yeah,
long time for me on a trip where I'm able to go wherever I want to go and just kind of plan
yeah,
my own. I can't imagine being on someone else's itinerary the entire
mm,
time, and also with the threat of if I don't bow at the right time in the right manner, I could
yeah.
just disappear. Yeah, that would be stressful.
Uh,
I could definitely imagine that would be
Yeah.
stressful.
And another example of that stress was we went to Kim Il Sung's supposedly birthplace, which is at like a national park, and then there was like a hut there, and that's where you grew up. But it's surrounded by CCTV cameras, like everywhere you go. There's the cameras everywhere, and there's guards on watch as well to make sure that no one's taking anything and stuff like that. And then it was my back was really sick. We were like obviously on the go all the time, and my back was really starting to strain. So I had to tie my shoelaces; they were undone. And then there's like a curbing that's like where the path is. There's like a curb that like rises just above the path. So I was thinking like, oh, I'll just lay my foot on that, and then I just tie my shoelace because I don't have to bend over that far from my back. And then um, it just clicked in my hands like, no, maybe that's disrespectful if I put my foot on their curbing, whatever. So I
Hmm.
just oh, I didn't do it, and then I just like tied myself like my shoe on the ground, and then the tour manager came over to me behind me and says, "Thank God you did that because they would have set they would, like, a guard would have came over to you and you would have got in trouble over doing that if you did step on that curb." So like it really, it is stressful. It's not for everybody, but
Yeah.
it really was a great eye opener. And I met like the guys on the tour were really great, and we've got our own WhatsApp group. We're still talking, and I've met up with a few people as well. There was a guy from Montreal that was on the trip, and he was my roommate there, and he's came over to Vancouver to visit as well. So it was definitely worthwhile. Definitely worthwhile.
So what do you think? And I mean, I'm not but I would say that you're probably more an expert than 99% of us who have never been there. Where do you what do you see as what are your big takeaways in terms of policy? Has the policy of walling off North Korea from the rest of the world largely been effective, ineffective? What's your feeling on that?
Um, I think I think Kim knows that this is the time to start moving forward, because his grandfather is the one who founded the state,
Right.
and his father was president for a long time, and he's grown up with that, and he's obviously he studied in Switzerland for a bit, speaking English, learning English, learning business.
Hmm.
So he spent time in Europe, so he knows what's like.
Yeah, right.
And
He's actually right. He's been outside North Korea. He knows
yeah,
that the are I actually just a quick thing because I've heard I watched the Young Turks a lot and I hear Jank make relatively flip. The two big rumors that he likes to mock Kim Jong Un for are that he shot a 18 in golf. Did
right.
you ever hear any indicate?
Yeah.
Is
I read a book
is
that
that a
had that in it.
true?
I don't
Is
think
that
that
a
was fine.
true? No, I mean, is that something that either that people actually believe or that he actually tries to put out there as part of the propaganda of him as a like godlike figure?
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely propaganda for regular people. Like
Yeah.
at the Kim Il Sung hut where he was raised,
Mm-hmm.
there's a calligraphy of his name
Mm-hmm.
written in Korean, and the tour guide, one of the guides, the local guides, told us that Kim Il Sung himself wrote that when he was 2 years old. Like,
Really?
so
So
everyone's looking at each other and goes,
did the
no,
tour
no way.
guide seem to believe that, or were they just saying lines as you or I wouldn't have play?
Um, I think it's like it's a job for them, so they're
Mm-hmm.
like rehearse the lines, so like
Right.
they don't deviate from that. Um, but do they believe it? Probably. I mean, the local guides from each area probably does, and regular folk do.
Mm-hmm.
The guys that we were with, I have a feeling that they know the true matter and things. Like there's a lot of things like where they were talking about on the bus, and like who were like even going down to the DMZ and to Sarawak, and we're doing karaoke on the bus with like Backstreet Boys and stuff like that, and they were singing as well. And like it's just like, I don't know. This is like a um, like I said, it's like the fakeness and what's real. Like there's definitely a truth in some things,
Mm-hmm.
but also and what we see in like documentaries and films, and from word of mouth. Um, but you can definitely see right past that if you're there as well. So you know what's fake and what's not.
Right.
Oh, were you locked? Were you in lockdown all the time, and were you allowed to go anywhere you wanted? Well, of course not. Like they're the rules. But
Yeah.
we were allowed to go for a 5K run on our own with the guides running as well. But like I was practically on my own on the streets, running between stadiums and ordinary people who were going to work.
Okay.
Um,
Were you able to interact at all with ordinary people, or was that kind of impossible because they don't speak any language other than Korean?
yeah, it's basically impossible. There was a marathon that takes place every year in Pyongyang, and it's like an international event. Like a lot of folk go to it, and it happened just this weekend. Gone, and the local people are on the streets, lined up to cheer on the runners. And I know some people like they put their hand out and like everyone's like high five and stuff. You know what I mean? Smiling, happy. Is that genuine? I think it's partly genuine.
Right.
Um, and because the itineraries are different for different tours. Like there's one that's heavy, like war based, so you find out about Korean War. Like ours is obviously the soccer. So we went to the soccer academy where they take like underage like boys like all the way up to like 18 to obviously study in school, but also play soccer for the national team or for soccer for as a what do you call it as a thing to do. And we actually played a game, like a friendly game, like five of us, like a 5v5 against 13-year-old North Korean kids. And we were all hung over and stuff, but like we did lose 2-1. But
to 13-year-olds.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like they're drilled 24 hours a day to play soccer.
Yeah.
So that one touch pass, like boom, boom, boom. Do you know what I mean? And we're like 30-year-old guys, like out of breath and like,
right,
trying to struggle. And then everything's recorded. Like we got there's a independent filmmaker with us, and like a camera guy, and he records the whole trip for us. And if you want to, you can buy that DVD for like €20 or something like that, and that's your souvenir. So then you can play it in your PC or DVD, and then you can watch the trip again.
Did you decide to buy the DVD?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like an hour and a bit long, and yeah, it's got everything in there. And the match, the soccer games in there, he's got a few bits of it. So there's an embarrassing one where we did this kind of move, and then I was waiting for a cross to come in. The ball comes in, and I heady it, and I'm practically got an open goal. And then the kid just like with this acrobatic save with his fingertips just claws it away. I'm like, God, wow. How? Like this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But again, we're just they're interacting with like normal, school kids.
Right.
So, there's no harm in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, obviously, like human beings are amazingly adaptable, and if you do, either independently or if it's forced on you to have the discipline to train in one specific discipline, we can become amazingly proficient in that one thing. Clearly, obviously, the problem, as I see it, with that is that you have a society structured in such a way where either you bow your head and play along with all of this propaganda and all of this authoritarianism and you get ahead yourself by playing along with this amazingly oppressive idea, and it only works out for you if you happen to have the ability to be good enough, talent-wise and with enough physical ability that it works out. I would imagine that, for people who are, unfortunately either born with mental or physical disabilities, things probably don't go particularly well for them in a society like that.
Like it's definitely being, a bunch of grapes and you're picking the best ones. Like, unfortunately, it is. And then,
right, human beings shouldn't be treated like grapes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then in the North Korean society, with that example for that soccer program, you're going around North Korea finding the best, students of soccer at 3 years old or 4 years old, and you're taking away from their family and putting it into this boarding school, and you're getting trained on soccer all the time. But the only way you can survive, the only way you can really survive is to go with the flow. Like,
there is no such thing as what we consider to be a normal life, because you either accept that all your decisions are going to be made for you by the government, and you're just going to play the role that they assign you, or you don't decide that, and you either
Prisoner of death.
you still end up do that or prisoner death, right?
Yeah,
Either
yeah.
either the role that they assign you is going to be you're working on the wall and eating
Hmm.
nothing but rice, or prisoner death. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get to see did you see any instances of the military police actually arresting and taking people away for making relatively
Mm,
minor mistakes?
no.
Or I guess the flip side is that I would imagine that actual crime rates are probably relatively low because it is true if you crack down with enough brutality, eventually the only people left are the ones who bow their heads and just kind of fall
Yeah,
in line.
that's correct, John. Yeah, like I mean, it's zero crime. Like I got so used to leaving my personal belongings in the bus, my phone, my wallet on the seat,
Right.
or on the street, where we had a coffee, and then we took some photographs and left my wallet and my phone on the chair on the table. Like no one's gonna go past and steal it.
Yeah, I can
Like
only
not a
imagine how that
chance.
scenario would play out as the American
Yeah.
or the Western civilization tourist comes back and tells the tour guide, "Hey, I left my phone's been
Mm.
stolen." They're going to get your phone back probably,
Yeah. Like
but and they'll probably even make a show of, here it is. Oh, I'm so sorry,
sorry about those
and
blood
then
stains in your
that
phone.
guy probably gets taken away, and you're not going to see what happens
Yeah.
to them afterwards, and it's not going to be a good thing.
Yeah. There's not gonna.
Like
There's,
it's not like they're going to string them up or publicly flog them for you because you would be shocked, and that's not the image that they're trying to
mm-hmm.
see. But we all know what happens to that guy afterwards.
Yeah. It's like I couldn't even see myself anyone robbing my phone or anything like that. Like I wouldn't be able to like visualize, like a mugger
Right.
in North Korea as well. It wouldn't happen.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm sure. But the
yeah.
flip side of that is that the trade-off is living in a society without crime in that way means that no one's free.
Hmm.
You don't get to choose if you want to be a soccer. That's all chosen for you. If they decide that you're good enough at soccer, you're going to be a soccer player, and that's
Hmm.
what you're going to do, regardless of whether you want to paint or not. If you're going to be a painter, you they 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 will make you paint, but you have to paint what they tell you to paint. You have to paint their
Yeah.
propaganda. Um,
Like the tour manager told me a few stories where we're at those statues, and you can't smile, you can't make any faces, obviously, you know what I mean, or
mhm.
handstands or stuff like that. But yet people were doing, dabs and stuff in front of it, and um, they'll get their photograph taken, and then there's a guy who's watching, 100 feet away, purposely making sure that no misbehavior happens.
Mhm.
He sees that, he calls the higher authority, it comes back to the two guides, and they're fired, and that's their job gone.
Wait, so
So
run that by me again. So a tourist is doing a dab
yeah,
in a photo. Another guy 100 yards away is watching that.
yeah,
He calls someone else. Nothing happens to the tourist, but the tour
right,
guides lose their jobs for allowing it to happen.
exactly, yeah,
Just wrapping my head around that whole scenario right now.
yeah. So there's everywhere we went, like all these statues, monuments, anywhere we
Mhm.
go, there's people out there who just watch us, and to make sure that you're looking at the statue, and that's all you're taking photographs. You're not misbehaving, and if you're doing misbehaving or misbehaving, any behavior that's just not acceptable, like dabbing or handstands in front of a monument that's supposed to be solemn, like you must be some kind of idiot to try that, So
Right, because you're not just putting yourself at risk, which there's the obvious thing where, but in reality, as you said, it's you'll get away with it, and you'll have I guess a cool story to go back and tell your drinking buddies. Meanwhile,
mm-hmm.
you've just ruined someone else's
Yeah,
life in another country for entertainment.
yeah, that's it's
And you don't even, and you might not even that the guy who was doing the dab and the goofy stuff might not even be aware that that's what happened, right?
mm. Yeah, like another scenario was where we, you can travel on the subway train for a few stops. And again, the tour manager told me there was the guy had some candy on him, and he offered to to people on the train as well, without asking the guides if it's okay, because you have to ask the guides, like, is it okay if I take a photograph of this, or is it okay if I
you have to ask them if it's okay to do everything you do. You have to clear through the guides first.
Mostly, yeah. The first couple of days, John, and then after a while,
yeah,
they've got to trust with you. You know what I mean?
Right.
These seems like a good group. You know, it's okay. Yeah, you fire away with your photography. So so then they were eating the candy, the North Koreans, like the girl, like the small child, and the father. And then again, somebody saw it on the train, maybe an ordinary citizen, and then they got called up, and they got back to the guides, and they asked the guy who gave the candy away, like, did this happen? And then he's like, yeah. He goes, well, you need to. It's like so important to tell us first of what you're doing around here. You know, you can't just offer people sweets, or everything's regulated, and we can't hide in North Korea because, first of all, we're all we're not Korean, so we're going to stand out like a sore thumb with our clothes, normal clothes, and everything we do, we're being watched on by North Koreans from the bus. You see that it's a tourist bus on the side of the bus itself. It says Korean tourism, big green bus. You can't miss it. So when we go by, like, people are just staring at us, like at the windows, and you can wave to them, and someone wave back, and someone just stare at you because maybe you're the enemy and stuff like that. So and then for those guides, that is probably the best job you can probably get in North Korea, is because the tips they get from tourism. I can just imagine what I gave was about it was like €70, and then there's like 9 of us with the tour manager, so 70 times 9. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money and that's only just one week's work.
Now, do they get to keep the tips, or do the tips get collected and go back to the pool?
That's the thing. You don't either keeping half the tips or you're keeping the whole lot. But with these tour guides, they're well connected to get that job, because I think one of them was their father works for the Ministry of, I don't know, Ministry of Defense, but like something high up in the office. So she's got a decent life more than the others.
Right.
So maybe she does keep all the money. Of course,
yeah.
Yeah.
You've got the job as basically the public relations for the oppressive regime. You're going to get treated well to keep you happy, so that you don't defect, because
no, for sure.
They want to keep you just that's the whole trick with authoritarian regimes, is that they want to keep the people in the positions in their various roles just happy enough that they don't do anything subversive. You've got the threat of the stick, but they're also offering you the carrot.
Yeah.
But just one carrot. You only get one.
one ration a week.
Right.
And they built a war museum, and obviously the Korean War, huge in American history, and
I would imagine it's much bigger in Korean history than it is in American history.
True,
as big as it is here. Yeah,
it definitely is. But it's crazy when you hear what they think was what happened. So
what's their version of events?
So they think that Americans started the war, that communism didn't go over that line of that parallel and attack the South Koreans and the Americans, that they think it was the other way, that they were attacking the North.
Mm-hmm.
So they first drew the tanks up. And you see that everywhere. You see that at the War Museum, and the guy taking you around and showing you things. And you got, I bought a book there that had, the U.S. imperialists caused the Korean War or something like that, and it's a proper propaganda book translated into English. I gave it to my dad as a present, and it literally states that it was America that was the first to do it. So that's why we attacked. Like, they're the bad guy,
right?
And if you this museum was only built a few years ago, so it's really futuristic in like their sculptures, and like they've got their whole like lineup of guns they found on the like the war field, some crashed helicopters, American helicopters. They have that American U.S. naval ship, the spy ship that is still docked there, the U.S. Pueblo, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And the North Koreans captured that, and they have it as a trophy. It's like, this is American spy ship. Look what we have, you know.
Right.
So, so yeah, so they think the American, and you know, communism was so close of winning the battle. It got to a point where the Americans were surrounded in one small city down the south, like very south of South Korea, and communism had taken over most of the whole mainland.
Mm-hmm.
And what Americans did is that they got on the boats and they went around and fought from the top, and then they got it back, and that's where it balanced between the parallel, and that's where you have South Korea and North Korea today.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it was so close of communism winning that battle, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because they got their because in the 50s, 60s, like communism was stronger. They had the best equipment, they had the best guns, they had the backing of Stalin in that war,
mm-hmm.
and that's why they started it.
Right,
they
because
take it over.
After World War II concluded, we started fighting a lot of proxy wars with the Soviets in
Vietnam,
various other, right, exactly. And in Vietnam went differently. Vietnam, the communists did win and took over the whole country. And I mean, you know, looking at the different scenarios, clearly, I think South Korea is maybe better off economically now than Vietnam is. But Vietnam is also, I think, in a markedly better position than North Korea is.
Oh yeah, because if you look at Pyongyang, like the capital of North Korea, it's still stuck in the 60s and 70s with their buildings, because it got absolutely shelled to pieces in the war, and the war ended in 53. So you're building from 53, and those buildings haven't been updated.
Mm-hmm. Do normal people only travel by foot? Do they own cars? Do they? How do normal people or could, from what you got, what was your impression of how, you know, like the daily lives of people who aren't tour guides get around in North Korea?
Yeah, there's like buses, like normal buses that's packed to get around the city, and then people walk, and they've got bicycles. But at first, the North Koreans didn't want bicycles to be on the streets, because it gave them freedom to go where they wanted to go on their own power. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, you don't need gas to fill up your bicycle. You can just go on your own will.
Right. And so would you say then the North Korean government didn't want the peasantry to have bicycles? Or the peasantry themselves didn't want bicycles?
The government didn't want the peasant to have bicycles, but now it's like, it's for the countryside, it's easier to get around that way. But yeah, that was the main issue with that. And then people just walk. There's a train station that goes. You can go to Beijing. It takes you 22 hours on the train to get to Pyongyang to Beijing. So you can travel to the countryside, and then there's a bridge that links China to North Korea, obviously where the train goes. And there's free movement through that as well. There's like Chinese restaurants in the North Korean side, in Sinuiju, I think it's called. There's Sinuiju and there's Dandong as the two cities next to each other, and then they've got, like, you know, an interrelationship with each other economy-wise, because China is the biggest economy North Korea has as an ally.
Right.
And without China, North Korea would struggle big time.
So how does the economy of North Korea work? And again, understand that you, as a tourist, you only get a limited, but like, do people have money and buy and sell and exchange goods with each other, or is it with all things being held in common, is it just like if you want food, you go into a restaurant, they serve you food, and all of the means of production is run by the government?
Exactly. You go into a restaurant, you
don't have to buy the food, but they dole out your portion, or is it
you get your own
ration?
wage. you get your own
Okay.
wage packet from the government, obviously a set amount, and you don't pay for your apartment. Um, like you live it rent free, but you work.
Okay.
You just work. The only day you get off is Sunday to
So
the vow to
you
thing.
work six
So
days a week. You have Sunday off.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and
Um,
Sunday is where you go to. It's a special place to go to that
and
mausoleum to pray,
is
or
the
to
work?
not pray, but
Oh,
well,
you have to go to the mausoleum to pray every Sunday.
not pray, but you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
to show your worthiness and stuff
Right.
like that. Yeah,
Is that the entirety of the Sunday, or do they get some actual leisure time?
yeah. There's definitely like we went to a water park. There was no Koreans there. Pool halls. There was a they're huge into like beer. Like they like their drink
Mm-hmm.
cheap as well. So there was a lot of breweries there, and people just go in for a drink. So yeah, so it is they get a wage packet every week, and they spend it when they want to, and or how would they like to. Um, there was a shopping center that we went to. It's the only one we can visit as tourists to go into,
Mm-hmm.
and we can exchange our money for Korean money because we were not allowed to use Korean won there.
Mm-hmm.
It's only the locals that are allowed to do it. So we had to use either US dollar, euro, or the Chinese money, yuan, I think it is,
Yeah.
or yen.
Mm-hmm.
So we changed that over to a Korean one, and then we can actually buy things in that supermarket. So we bought like beer and food, and there's like ordinary Koreans beside us with their shopping trolley, and they're buying stuff. And there was like electronics place there with like Sony TVs and stuff like that, like there, and they can buy that if they want to, and washing machines, and it was like a normal everyday thing. Now, is that just because it's a tourist place and for only us us to see? Yeah, I doubt that there's all the supermarkets are like that.
Right.
But people were coming in and out shopping like normal with their kids, and a few people have cars. It's very expensive to pay for gas there, but
Mm-hmm.
they put in their cars and they'll go home. So
Gotcha.
mm.
Um, yeah. I'm trying to think if there was there anything else. I'm kind of running out of questions, I guess.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that was particularly striking or noteworthy to you, um, on the that really stood out that we haven't covered already?
Um, mm, Probably not, John. I mean, yeah. Like for lunch, like for us we only had rice and vegetables
Mm-hmm.
each day.
No meat?
Um, we got a special like barbecue. There's like a Korean barbecue like
Mm-hmm.
that we went there for the last night, and that was pretty nice. But the only meat you could get was dog meat. So I had
Ooh.
for an extra €5, you can pay for dog soup.
Ugh. Can't
Yeah,
imagine
well,
eat.
I'll tell you,
Yeah.
like, okay, I try it because I haven't had meat, for 5 days, or
No,
whatever.
right, yeah. But
I
yeah,
definitely want to try it and stuff, and
goodness.
I'm sick of just eating vegetables and rice all the time. But you do know it's dog, right, and stuff like that, and and
Yeah.
a lot of people, some people didn't do it, and some people did, but it was the only proper protein we actually got, because you're basically just eating rice and kimchi, which is like raw cabbage
Right. I guess kimchi does have a
and
little bit
cold
of protein
noodles.
in it.
Yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, get your small portions. But yeah, the duck soup was like everyone says, it tastes like chicken or it's gamey, whatever. But it was all right.
Right.
Um, but yeah, but for ordinary Koreans, it'll be just like rice and kimchi will be the only ones that they'll have.
Right.
Um, but yeah, no, that was I think that's everything covered. Any basis, and if you want to check out any photographs, I can send it over to you or on Facebook or whatever. So
Yeah, I'll probably end up hitting you up on Facebook because it would be
yeah.
interesting to see more of that. It's so because so few people actually get a first-hand experience. It's just
Mm.
very interesting to hear a first-hand accounting of it.
Yeah. Could you
Um,
get a Greek passport by any chance?
I probably would be able to apply for Greek citizenship.
Hmm.
Because since I've got a established lineage, I think it's
Yeah.
easier for me. I haven't explored that. But theoretically, I probably could. I,
Mm.
I'll be real. I honestly don't know if one, if I would want to go to North Korea, or
Yeah.
two, if it would be a good idea because I have a rebellious streak, and especially at the end of 5 days of people telling me no, you can't dab here, and
Yeah.
no, yes, you must bow here. I might just be like,
Mm.
you know what,
Yeah.
and then that would be the last you would see of me.
That's right.
You guys could do a memorial for me on the
Yeah,
old
your
iRacing.
gloves would be just like resting on your
Right,
on
yeah.
your empty coffin, and that's it.
Yeah, I might throw a glove at the wrong thing.
Like a love slap.
Right.
But yeah, no, that's been a great show.
That's been fantastic, man.
Yeah,
Quite unexpected to get an inside look at, or I'll probably clip just that segment out and have that go up as its
yeah,
own
for sure.
thing.
If you see in my Discord, my profile picture is actually from the DMZ. I'm on the North Korean side. Actually, one more note is that at the DMZ, so the blue houses, the iconic ones that are in the middle,
Yeah.
where the North Korean South Korean. So the building on the opposite side is South Korean, and you got North Korea. And we got onto the balcony, so you can see over, the South Korean side and the huts. And on our side, there was like one or two cameras, CCTV cameras there. And on the South Korean side, there was like hundreds of cameras on top of the balcony, all pointing towards obviously the North Korean building. And there was a Swedish guy on the trip who actually went to South Korea a week before for the Olympics. And he actually visited that side of South Korea, which is kind of crazy. And the American soldier that was there said, do not point, do not laugh, do not, shout towards the other side. It's a strict rule. On the North Korean side, the general that was with us, yeah, do whatever you want. Take a photograph of this.
Interesting. There was one little piece where there was now I would imagine that on the other side it's more I don't know if it's to inflame tensions or if it's also that there's a little bit of a you don't want to
rile you up.
You don't no, don't yeah. Well and don't punch down. Like the people on the other side have it much worse than the people on the South Korean side of that line.
Yeah.
So.
But I'd say that there's obviously a lot more tourists that go to the South Korean side, and Americans are free to go to South Korea.
Yes.
And
yeah.
the DMZs on that side.
They're one of our biggest allies. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So then there's going to be a lot more people who are boisterous, let's say, and they will like laugh and like point and take photographs and oops, sorry, I didn't know what I was doing, and being careless.
The punishment for that is basically a naughty. There's no risk of being marshaled away.
That's not it. Yeah.
Yeah.
20 years in the Navy or whatever. But and did you see that video of the Korean escaping with the Jeep?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, there's one a couple of years ago where he drove through the checkpoints in North Korea and where we were, and then he went down the road and he went for the border between those houses, between those blue huts, and he got stuck in the ditch that's in between the leaves. And the North Koreans, he was fleeing obviously the other side, so then he jumped out of the Jeep and he ran for the other side, and then there was North Koreans shooting at the guy, and he just made it the other side with like a couple of he definitely got hit.
He was trying. I'm guessing this is one reason why they discourage motor vehicles is because it gives you the ability to potentially defect.
Yeah, and
then probably why they didn't want them to have bicycles as well. If you give the people mobility, it increases the ability they can defect. It's yeah.
Yeah, Smith saw it he says he saw it in the chat. Yeah, like and they waited till the nighttime before the South Koreans got out and under the night of darkness actually got the defector in and treated him, and he survived after that. But it was a crazy moment. So once we were there, you saw that where that place was, and it's all like hollowed out now, and there's no chance of someone doing that again. So it was quite interesting to see that. But he was
that one guy made it through, and now they've covered it up so no one can get out the same way that he got out.
Exactly. Yeah, and they put extra blockades on that route, on that road. So when you first get to the DMZ, it's another 2 miles down the road before you see those blue huts.
Yeah.
and there's checkpoints all the way around. And the tour manager told us that there's some new ones in that have like ironclad, 20 foot across the whole road. You're not getting through this.
Mm-hmm.
If you go like past those, like the right side of the road or the left hand side of the road into the grass, there's probably a landmine there or something like that. So,
right.
yeah, it's crazy. I'll try and put it in Discord for that. For that link for that video. It's
Yeah,
crazy though.
that'd be interesting to see.
Yeah.
One last question.
Yep.
Was your fiance able to go with you, and what did she think of you going to North Korea?
Oh no. I asked her. Like I told her that I always wanted to go. Like this is not just a spur of the moment thing. I always had it in me to. I wanted to go. And I had a chance there to go at that time, and I asked her if she wanted to go, but she couldn't get time off work. But I'm pretty sure that she didn't really want to go anyway. But there was a couple who from England that was on the trip together. So there's people who do go as couples there. But yeah. So, but I'm kind of like another thing on my own to kind of do. That kind of freedom just to go for it. And do you want to be shackled down at that time? I don't think so.
Right.
So yeah, she was fine with it. I brought her back a souvenir, propaganda souvenir, so I'd say she was happy.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
she was
sure
alright.
she was most happy that you returned in fully
Yeah.
functioning state.
Yeah, this so I couldn't Skype her for like I couldn't get contact with her for 5 days, so she didn't know how I was doing.
She must have
And
been going flipping out by the end of that.
yeah. Well, I told her, pre-warned her that like I don't have internet over there, so you just gotta have to trust me that like everything's okay.
Right.
But do you know what's funny? Like, so I looked at my phone at the DMZ, and I could actually get a connection from the South Korean side on their internet, and I was able to send a message back to her on Skype to say like, "Here, I'm at the DMZ." I was on the coach and we're driving away. So once I sent that message, it got sent, but I didn't get a message back. And then I checked it once it arrived back in Canada, and she sent like a message 2 minutes later saying, "Oh, where are you?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I couldn't respond because I didn't have.
Oh no! So sending the message was actually worse than sending
so
nothing.
Been a good idea,
yeah, because she thought, "Oh my gosh, he sent a message and they caught him sending it." And now all the
Definitely not my smartest thing I've ever done.
No,
Not in a career.
That's all right.
Anyway, yeah, no, this
an understandable thing to do, though.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
To make sure I'm okay.
This has been great, man.
Job. Yeah, it's fantastic, and